One evening, when I asked for Mamie, her mother said that she and Thomas, her younger brother, had gone to the show. That same thing happened 3 evenings that week. On Saturday, I caught her on her way and took her home. We sat down on the steps and talked for some time. I saw that Mamie looked different. Her eyes were shining, and her look was softer. "Why do you go to the show 3 times a week?" I asked her. "Are you so fond of freaks?" "Oh, yes," said Mamie. "I like freaks. When I see them, I forget my work and the tent." "What kind of freaks are there?" I asked. "Do they eat?" "Not all of them. Some of them are wax." "Look out, then. You may get stuck," said I, trying to joke. Mamie blushed. I didn't know what to think. On Monday, I did not find Mamie in the restaurant again. She had gone to the freak show with Thomas. "Well," I said to myself, "I'll have to go there and see for myself. What kind of show can it be that Mamie goes to see 3 times a week?" Next day, before starting out for the show tent, I called for Mamie and found she was not at home. But she was not at the show with Thomas this time, because Thomas was at home. "What will you give me, Jeff," he said, "if I tell you something?" "Anything you wish," I said. "Mamie is in love with a freak at the show," he said. "I don't like him, but she does. She likes him very much. I know because I heard what they said to each other. I thought it would interest you. Oh, Jeff, could you give me $2 for what I told you? I want to buy." I gave Thomas $2 for the information. "Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. A freak, you said. Can you describe him to me?" "You can read about him if you like," said Thomas. He took a yellow program out of his pocket and read, "He does not eat. I think that's why my sister is in love with him. He is going to starve for 49 days. Today is the 6th day." I looked at the name on the program. Professor Eduardo Cagliari. "Ah," said I, "that is not so bad, Ed Collier. I give you credit for the trick. But I am not going to give you Mamie. Oh, no." I went to the show tent. As I went up to the back door, a man came out, and by the light of the stars, I saw it was Professor Eduardo Cagliari himself. I caught him by the arm. "Hello, freak," I said. "Let me have a look at you. How do you like being a professor?" "Jeff Peters," said Collier in a weak voice. "Let me go or you will be sorry. I'm in a hurry. Hands off." "Oh, no, Eddie," I answered, holding him hard. "You can't fight me now. You have got a lot of nerve, that's true. But you also have an empty stomach. You are as weak as a cat." That was true. He was very weak and could not fight. "Yes, Jeff, you are right. I made a mistake thinking I could go hungry for 49 days. Our conflict is over. You have won. You will find Miss Dugan inside. She is a fine girl. I'm sorry that I've lost. I starved for 6 days and began to understand that love and business and family and religion are only words when a man is starving. I love Mamie Dugan, but I can't go hungry. An empty stomach is a terrible thing. Now I'm going to eat tons of beefsteak and hundreds of eggs. Excuse me now, Jeff. I'm in a hurry to get to a restaurant. Goodbye." "I hope you'll like your dinner, Ed," I said, "and don't be angry with me." He disappeared at once, and I went inside the tent. I found Mamie there and asked her to come for a walk with me. She did not say yes or no, but looked around the tent. I knew she was looking for her freak. "I'll tell you some news," I said. "The freak that lives on wind has just run away. At this moment, he is having a big meal at some restaurant, eating pork and beefsteak." "Are you speaking about Ed Collier?" asked Mamie. "Yes," I answered. "I met him outside the tent a few minutes ago, and he told me he was going out to eat all the food in the world." "Jeff," said Mamie, "don't say anything bad about Ed Collier. He stopped eating only to please me, and I like him for this. Could you do what he did?" "I don't know, Mamie," I answered. "I can't go hungry for a long time. I have to eat. I can't help it." "Ed Collier and I are good friends," she said, "the same as you and I. I gave him the same answer that I gave you. I shall not marry anybody. I liked to be with Ed, and I liked to talk to him. It was pleasant to know that there was a man who stopped eating because of me." "Are you in love with him?" I asked. It was a mistake, of course, to ask this question. All of us make mistakes sometimes. Mamie got angry. "You have no right to ask me such a thing, Jeff," she said. "If you go hungry for 49 days, maybe I shall answer it." So, even after he had disappeared, Collier was still in my way. And then my business came to an end, and I was ready to leave Guthrie. I decided to go to Oklahoma City. I came to see the Dugans to say goodbye. I was surprised to see Mamie in a blue traveling dress, holding her little suitcase in her hand. Her friend, who lived in Terre Haute, was going to get married next Thursday. Mamie was leaving for a week's visit to be present at the wedding. I offered to take her there in my wagon. She agreed, and 30 minutes later we started for Terre Haute. It was a fine morning. Mamie was full of talk, and I was full of joy. Not a word was said either about Ed Collier or about food. But at noon, Mamie looked and found that she had forgotten to take the basket with the food. I did not say anything because I was afraid to talk to Mamie about food. And then I discovered that I had lost my way. I think it happened because of Mamie. She talked and I listened and I didn't look where I was going. Then it began to rain. We were both very tired. Then we saw a small house a little way from the road and decided to take a rest there. The house had 2 empty rooms. There was nobody in them. Mamie and I sat on the wagon seats on the floor. Mamie was having a good time. She laughed and talked all the time. It was a change for her. When it became dark, I brought my coat and blankets from the wagon and made a bed for Mamie on the floor. She lay down and I sat in the other room smoking and thinking about her. Then I fell asleep. I opened my eyes at sunrise. Mamie stood looking at me. "Good morning, Jeff," she cried. "I'm so hungry. I could eat a—" I looked up at her and laughed. It seemed so funny to me that I laughed and laughed. When I stopped and looked at Mamie, she was sitting with her back to me. "Oh, don't be angry, Mamie," I said. "I could not help it. I laughed because I was glad to see you." "Don't tell me any lies, sir," said Mamie very angrily. "I know what you were laughing about. Why, Jeff, look outside." I opened the little window and looked out. The water in the river had risen. The land on which the house stood became an island in the middle of a sea of yellow water, and it was still raining hard. All we could do was stay and wait. We were hungry. We were very hungry. I imagined a table full of food. Very hungry people always see pictures of food in their mind. Night came on again. The river was still rising and the rain was still falling. I looked at Mamie and noticed a hungry look in her eyes. The poor girl was very hungry, maybe for the first time in her life. "What would you like to eat, Mamie?" I asked her. "Beefsteak and potatoes and ham and eggs," she answered. "Oh, Jeff, I could eat anything. I am so hungry." Next morning, we found that the rain had stopped and the water around the house had gone. We found the road with difficulty. In 2 hours, we were in Oklahoma City. The first thing we saw was a big restaurant. We hurried inside. I ordered a banquet for 10, not for 2. I looked across the table at Mamie and smiled because I remembered something. Mamie was looking at the food as a boy looks at his first watch. Then she looked at me, and 2 big tears came into her eyes. "Jeff," she said, "I have been a foolish girl. I did not understand many things. But that is over now. I understand now that men get hungry every day like this. They are big and strong and they work hard. They must eat in order to work. You said once, that is, you asked me, you wanted to be my... Well, Jeff, if you still love me, I will be glad to have you always sitting across the table from me. Now give me something to eat, quick, please."